All right, family, we are live. We are live. Thank you for your patience. It's gonna be a good show. It's gonna be a good show.
Yes,
Got a lot of questions for this brother here, man. Because when I
brother,
see,
and we're gonna take a lot of questions. The
yeah, for the
presentation's
family,
not that long, but
yeah,
it's we're gonna jump in. We're gonna jump in.
yeah, I want the family to ask some questions because people have always had questions, and I talked to you about this before about
Absolutely
the Moorish Science Temple and what exactly y'all represent.
correct.
Um, yeah, I've heard so much. So, what we're talking about today, well, why don't you tell them? Well, let me welcome to the show, the platform. We like rushing,
Absolutely,
but I'm
absolutely.
excited about the show. But tell the people what we're talking about today. I want to welcome to the platform my brother Sharif Bey. Welcome back,
Yes,
Sharif.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Pleasure
Mhm.
to be back. Pleasure to be amongst the family. So let's jump right into it. First, I want to give, um, first of all, I want to give honors to and a shout out to our good brother 50 Cent. You know, we have, we always want to speak to the best of each other and ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And so that's important. That said, his show, BMF, the BMF show, this recent season, there have been a number of episodes where the Moorish movement has been portrayed, and it has not been portrayed in a positive light in the general sense. It's not been portrayed in the positive light. Um, the public, especially outside of the Moorish movement, right, does not really know the difference. You see what I'm saying? And as a result, it can be very confusing. And let's just be real, right? Media is called the fourth branch of the government, ex officially, because of its ability to powerfully impact how people think. You see what I'm saying? And so, we know that, yes, this is a fictionalized story based on real life events and some real life people. We know that, right? Nevertheless, you know, because of the power of media to impact on people, on their psyche, and modify how people think, right? And the fact that many of us, this is be real, media is real life to us. What we see on the screen, we tend to think is real. So this is why we're addressing this issue. And we're not addressing it from a defensive perspective, right? Because the organization doesn't represent the portrayal that we saw. We're drawing the clear distinctions so that the public can understand and know the difference. You see what I'm saying?
Got you. Got you.
That's what we're doing, bro.
All right. Do you want to get into this presentation?
Let's jump right in, bro.
Okay. All right.
And also, too, I want to, you guys, with questions, there's not going to be a long presentation, but the questions, I will take as many questions as possible. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Because again, this is a service to the community. This is a service to the public.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and no question is a tough question, or no question's a bad question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, the truth about the Moorish movement and 50 Cent's portrayal of it in his series, Black Mafia Family of BMF. All right. Um, Even in the visuals here, right? I took a couple stills from the show. You'll notice in the bottom left corner, there's the picture of Little Meech, Big Meech's son, of course, playing his father, and the brother playing a quote unquote sheik or grand sheik, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice that there's on the right the Moorish flag, red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. But on the left, you don't see an American flag, which is what you see in the Moorish side still of America. What you see is a flag called the Continental United States flag. We're gonna get to that because that's significant. Okay. All right. Next slide. All right. The betrayal. Big Meech, or his character, is introduced to a group called the Great Seal Moors. Now, for those of you that saw this particular episode, the dialogue carried a distinction. All right. And we respect that distinction. When the sister brought Meech's character into the meeting, he says to the sister, you know, what you mean the people that have been selling drugs and laying bodies down is the Moorish Science Temple? And she said, no, they're for peace, freedom, and justice. This group is on some other stuff. So there was a distinction made, and that's very, very, very important. All right. This group was called the Great Seal Moors in the show. The Great Seal Moors are distinguished in the show from the Moorish Science Temple of America, which they were, and which I just mentioned. However, there are numerous depictions that associate both together in subsequent episodes. The power of imagery and displayed customs, which are very familiar to members of the organization, further associates the Moorish Science Temple of America with the criminality displayed on the screen, including drug dealing, shootouts, and in particular, illegal adverse possession. Okay, I'm going to get back to that whole adverse possession thing and what that's all about. All right. Okay, next slide. Okay. What you're looking at here is most likely what the writers and the writing team of BMF were trying to portray in a fictional sense. Jerry Lewis Bey was a real individual. He was not a member of the organization. He was a member of an offshoot group. Jerry Lewis Bey was very connected politically in the city of St. Louis. But he was also, you know, very heavily involved in criminal activity. All right. His criminal enterprise operated up to the mid-'80s. This is the significance. Why? Because this was before BMF's time. Okay. It's before BMF's time. Next slide. Again, we're going to move through this pretty quick. So we understand, again, that the show takes creative license because it's entertainment. It's not a documentary, right? It takes, you know, so it's taking creative license with certain things. Of course, it's based on real events and some real people. Nevertheless, it's fiction. So here's the truth about the Great Seal. The Great Seal Moors, see, we're New Yorkers, right? The Great Seal Moors didn't operate in the Midwest. The Great Seal Moors at this time period were located Southside Queens. That's where they were located. This is very important. Why is it important? Because a prominent Great Seal official lived on 119th and Guy Brewer. This is Southside, right? This prominent official, his name was Yusuf Rami Bey. His son's name was Ja Bey. Ja was a close friend and associate of 50 Cent when 50 was in the streets. He ran with the same crew. And Ja was killed by rivals of 50. And 50 paid for his funeral. So most likely, the portrayal of the Great Seal Moors came from 50's recollection of the Great Seal in Queens. You all following me?
Indeed.
All right, cool. All right, so I want to stay here for a second. You know, and again, you know, we're not accusing 50 or his writing team of purposefully trying to black shirt or bad shirt the Moorish movement or the Moorish Science Temple of America. Okay, it's not what we're doing, but we are drawing we're with this presentation drawing a clear distinction between what people are seeing on the screen and what the movement is actually about and what actually took place during this period of time. Again, you know, Jerry Lewis Bey and his crew were operating before BMF's time. Okay. And that's most likely what's being portrayed is a fictional or you know, depiction that mirrors Jerry Lewis Bey's crew. All right. All right, next slide. So this is the truth about the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? The Moorish Science Temple of America is a religious organization with both cultural heritage and civic implications. The Moorish Science Temple of America is diametrically opposed to all things that may cause injury to individuals, the public, society at large, or the public trust. The Moorish Science Temple of America is not a separatist organization. This is important because what's portrayed on the show very, very clearly and very brazenly is that this other group is opposed to American government and sees itself as separate from American society. And yes, there are people in the Moorish movement that believe or associate themselves with the Moorish movement that believe that this is the way to go, and they advocate those things. But the Moorish Science Temple of America is founded by its founder, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, was in no shape, form, or fashion a separatist organization, nor did it have a separatist direction. And we're going to get to the more details on this as well. The Moorish Science Temple of America does not advocate individual sovereignty, nor does it promote the idea that it is a separate nation or government from the United States. This is a thought that came later and became associated with the Moorish movement by people who didn't know any better and who should have known better. The Moorish Science Temple of America works to hold, now this is deep right here, what I'm about to say. The Moorish Science Temple of America works to hold American society to true Americanism and the American social contract. This is extremely important. Why? Because all of us grew up in an America that is overtly Eurocentric. So much so that we've been socialized into believing that Eurocentrism is a proxy for Americanism. Let me say that again. We've all grown up to believe that the American government is quote unquote white. And that, you see what I'm saying? And that the American flag is synonymous with white supremacy. Okay? That is a wrong presumption or a wrong idea, but that's the one we grew up under nevertheless. All right, next slide. The Moorish movement and true Americanism. Americanism, here, let's do some basic civics, people, right? Americanism, at its onset, let's start with this. If I'm going to be a citizen, or if I aspire to be a citizen of an old world nation, such as Italy, what's the prerequisite? Got to be Italian. See? But in the New World, which is represented by the United States of America, in the New World, the prerequisite for citizenship is that you have to believe in an idea. What is the idea? The idea is literally the great alchemical experiment applied socially. In other words, one nation being made up of people from many different old world nations. That is the Latin phrase e pluribus unum, out of many one. Okay? That is core Americanism right there. Americanism is not synonymous with whiteness or Eurocentrism. White supremacy is not foundationally American, despite the fact that that's how we've grown up and that's what we've been socialized to believe. The truth is, white supremacy hijacked the American ideal. This is very important to understand, because if we don't understand this, we don't understand the purpose of racism and white supremacy. And if you don't understand the purpose or the objective of racism and white supremacy, then you're powerless to combat it. All right, let's continue. Core American values is devoid of racial classification. There are many different ways to identify people. Rich, you have children, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
But no one outside of your children calls you daddy or father.
No.
See my point?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So even identification is contextual. See? All right. So core American values, again, is devoid of racial classification. It only recognizes national identity. Here's an example. Nobody ever says that a t-shirt that says "Kiss Me, I'm Irish" is racist. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not racist, right? No one ever says there's an organization called the Sons of Italy. Can you join, brother? No. You cannot join. But is it racist that you can't join? Yes or no, bro?
No.
Exactly. It's not racist. Why? Because you're not Italian. But see, Italian is not, listen close, that is not a race. See? It's a different way to identify. Okay? Core American values only recognizes national identity, not color code race. Color code race classification is the foundation of white supremacy. It is, like it or not. Johann Blumenbach and those guys, Arthur de Gobineau, the French aristocrat, those are the guys that came up with the color code system that we live under today. They were Euro-imperialists that utilized bad sociology to support white supremacy and get us to agree with it, which is exactly what took place. We accepted those teachings. Again, color code race classification is the foundation of white supremacy, and it is swiftly becoming extinct. This is huge because this is what we're looking at every day on the news. It's becoming extinct. It is totally unsustainable in American society, and we're going to give hard examples as to why. Next point, the global South, in other words, non-European nations. If you're not familiar with the term global South, get familiar with it fast. The global South is pushing out and moving past Euro dominance all over the world. Shout out to Ibrahim Traore. See, he is one of the big visible examples of what I'm talking about. He's doing what Sankara and what Lumumba absolutely could not do. One of the reasons why he's doing what they couldn't do is because it wasn't time yet. Wasn't time yet. Now's the time. It's happening globally. America, Europe, and Israel are being reduced to regional powers. The age of a unipolar superpower is gone. America is no longer that. And if you're paying attention to the news, you can see it. This is the end of unipolar global power and the rise of multipolar regional powers. That's what we're looking at, people. White supremacy, which hijacked true Americanism, is fighting desperately to maintain control. That's why you have a MAGA. That's why you have a super weak Democratic left. That's why you have a 7 Mountain Mandate. That's why you have a new apostolic reformation. That's why you have dominionist doctrine. That's why. The reset is inevitable. The fight is who or what will be the social face or complexion of Americanism moving forward. And this, people, what I just said there, is the root of American racism. It's the root. It has less to do with just wholesale killing our people. It has everything to do with what Lawrence Fishburne told Keanu Reeves in the first installation of The Matrix, and that is to turn us into copper tops. That's it. And here's the other part. To prevent us, listen close, to prevent us from being the next social complexion of Americanism. See, the powers that be know some things that our people collectively don't know. You've got countries like China. China's been around 5,000 years. 5,000 years, people. In the Moorish side of America, we say the Moorish flag is over 10,000 years old. America this year just hit the 250 mark. China has pottery shards older than America. See what I'm saying? Why am I bringing this up? Here's why. China has survived over a half dozen events that we're seeing right now. In other words, collapses. That's what we're seeing, right? China, so in other words, we have not yet seen the completed and perfected American yet. Again, when it comes to this racism, white supremacy thing, that is the real fight, people. And especially now, with the current political climate that we have today, the fight is, because they know the show is over. They know. The fight is who's going to control what America's to become. You all hear me? Who is going to be the public face of Americanism moving forward? Next slide. I know some of y'all have put these together, made these connections. If you haven't, come on now. Come on now. What do you, Brother Rich, what do you see in the visual of this slide?
Diddy, Epstein, Mossad, and AIPAC.
What do you know about AIPAC, brother?
I don't know much. I've heard you mention them before, but I don't know much about AIPAC.
Okay, AIPAC is a lobby organization. It's a political machine that lobbies, for certain issues, to elected officials on the national level. That's what they do, right? Whose issues do they support? Israel's. Okay, AIPAC. Now this slide's a little dicey. This slide might get me in trouble, but whatever. Here we go. AIPAC, literally gangsters, political officials. Bottom line, this is the agency or the organization that says, do you support Israel? And if you say no, then your career, your political career goes in the toilet. And AIPAC owns both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans. AIPAC owns both. How do they own both? How are they able to gangster 98 to 99% of our elected officials in our national government? How are they able to do it? Well, the answer to that question is directly tied to this question. Why will we never see the Epstein list? It's directly related, people. Directly related. Why do you think we'll ever see the Epstein list, Brother Rich?
At this point, no.
Why do you think we won't?
All hell will break loose, my brother. All hell.
But why will all hell break loose? Tell me. Why do you think?
Because a lot of folks that
including elected officials?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now you see where AIPAC's power comes from. That's where AIPAC's power comes from, people. This ain't hard to figure out. And there's already enough people that are already speaking to it that are in the know. Now, the wording in this slide, Black America is a target on par with the American political machine. You hear what I just said? It's on par. Do you remember not that long ago, maybe a year or so ago, there was a representative of the state of Israel speaking to an audience in Georgia. And she said, their number one concern is the Black man in America. But she also said, but we have elements in place to deal with that. You hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Why would they say, as a representative of the state of Israel, that our people, the Asiatic, the quote unquote so-called Black man in America, is their biggest concern? Why do you think so? I want to pose that question to the audience as well. Why do you think she would say that? What's so significant about us that we would be a target on par with the American political machine for blackmail, for coercion, etc.? To the point where they would use the exact same intelligence tactic to elicit this. It's called the honeypot operation. The exact same thing. See? There's a quote at the bottom of this. It says, we are, first of all, here's where the connection is, people. Our people in America, are the diasporic, colonized representatives of the global South. And in previous presentations, I talked about how after World War II, immediately after World War II, through the Bretton Woods Agreement, the United States became the unipolar world power. Why? How? Because after World War II, our economy, the American economy, was the most stable economy on the planet. Everybody else was bombed to hell through the World War II. Their economies were totally unstable. And on top of that, we held 75% of the world's gold reserves, and we controlled most of the key trade routes, global trade routes. So we gangstered literally the rest of the world to take on the US dollar as the world standard currency. That means no other nation could buy, sell, or trade, or buy, for instance, oil. They couldn't buy it without using US dollars to do it. So we gangstered the whole world into subsidizing US debt. And all while they had to produce physical goods to sell, to make money, to buy things, all we had to do was print dollars. See? That's how we've got over the United States, over 700 bases worldwide in other people's countries. That's how we're able to sanction people back to the Stone Age. See? But guess what? The global South did. The non-European nations did. See? These were the nations that were being exploited by the Euro-West. And then the greed of the Euro-West, including America, caused American producers and business to outsource things to these other countries because it was cheaper, so they can make more money. What ended up happening as a result? Our economy went from an industry economy, in other words, where we made stuff actually, to a consumer economy. We don't make nothing. And what makes it worse is that the people that we depended on, right, our brothers and sisters in the global South, right, not only can they produce these things cheaper, now they can produce them 10 times better. We lost the ability to produce. Because of that, our market is falling. The dollar is going bye-bye. And the global South, the very people that the Euro-West exploited all these decades, is now the emerging global market. So the global South is swiftly rising as the dominant collective global market via the BRICS alliance. Are you all starting to put this together now? I'll just cut right to the chase. There's a quote from Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He said, one day, the United States will not be able to do any business unless it's through the Asiatics. In other words, unless it's through us. Why is that true? Next slide. American racism and global Euro-imperialism's unsustainability and impending collapse. It's on its way out, people. It's on its way out. What are contributing factors? Changing population demographics, new emerging identity guidelines, economic crisis bred from racial inequalities. That's big. Financially failing urban centers from redlining, concentrated poverty, GDP adversely affected by the racial wealth gap. So if you look at the right of this slide, there was a study done by McKinsey and Company that said if Europeans, so-called white people in America, if they worked to remedy the racial wealth gap between so-called white people, so-called black people, if they work to remedy close the racial wealth gap, they would have a greater and higher standard of living than they do today. Which demonstrates the fact that they won't do that and they're not doing that demonstrates what? That to them, it's far more important to create and maintain the illusion of supremacy than to even save themselves. Let me repeat that. It is far more important to the collective European population in America and the status quo. It's far more important to them to maintain the illusion of supremacy and control than it is to save themselves. You all are familiar with Bacon's Rebellion in the 1600s in America. That was when poor Europeans and poor Asiatics, poor so-called white people and poor so-called black people united and said, we're going to get at these rich people. This was the major catalyst for the color code racial system. In short, what the rich did was say, hey, you poor white people, at least you ain't no niggas. And to this very day, in states like Kentucky and Tennessee, Europeans repeatedly and consistently vote against their own interests just so they can still maintain, well, we ain't them. This is what we're dealing with, people. Global white supremacy is coming to an end. As a matter of fact, in large part, the global South has already moved past white supremacy and Euro dominance. It's already moved past it. Next slide. Our people, like I said, the global South is the emerging global market. And who are we? We are the diasporic representatives of the global South. Where? In America. In America. What has the president, the current president done when it comes to commerce and trade globally? Isolated America from all of his trade partners. Isolated. That's so easy to explain with this tariff war. Y'all know who pays tariffs, don't you? Brother Rich, you know who pays tariffs, right?
So yeah, the tariffs, yeah.
Who pays tariffs?
When the companies get the goods, they pay the tariffs, right?
No, sir. No, sir.
No?
No.
Isn't that what Amazon and them beefing about? Like, say if they getting goods from another country,
yep.
It could be stereo systems, clothes, or whatever. Mm-hmm. They gotta pay the tariff. They gotta pay the tariff for that, right?
No, but this is what they're beefing about. This is what they're beefing about. I'm gonna tell you, they're not beefing about them paying the tariffs because no producer pays that. They pass the cost on to the consumer. What they're complaining about is if we pass that cost on, we're going to lose sales. Nobody's going to buy.
Right.
That's what they're complaining about. So the tariffs are a tax on foreign goods, not on the foreign nation. I can't tax you. You live in Atlanta. You see what I'm saying? I can't tax a foreign nation. Yeah, right. It's a tax on their goods that they import to America. Who you get it? So who pays that? The American people pay it. So what happens when he starts a tariff war, which he has already, with all of our trade allies? What do? Oh, well, I guess we can't sell our goods in America. There are other people to sell to. Get it? That's what's happening right now as we speak. That's what's happening. That's literally what's happening. Other nations, China, like for instance, one of the latest things that's happening right now, right? Our president, Trump, right, is penalizing or calling himself penalizing Brazil. Why? Because it's buying Russian oil. You see? And how is it penalizing him? Oh, by hiking a tariff on certain Brazilian goods. See?
So this how it works?
Then they pass the cost to you. That's right.
Right. So the company, okay.
They pass the cost to you, to the consumer. So what is a tariff essentially? It's a tax. On who? The American people. See? So literally, Trump is effectively isolating us. Economically, we're about to die in the dark. We're being isolated from our own trade partners, among others. That's what's happening. So let's look at our potential advantages. That's what this slide is right here. We, as the diasporic representatives of the global South in America, right? Let's give you an example. I'm going to give an example. The Nation of Islam. Back in the 60s, late 60s, Elijah Muhammad hired a brother from Turkey to teach the FOI, international trade, how to write bills of credit, and then how to find a product in another nation or another country that they could import and sell at a profit that would be lucrative. What did they find? They found fish, whiting fish. Where? The country? Peru. That's what they did, brother. Whiting H&G. Some of you in the audience know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yo, remember, y'all, listen real quick, Sharif. I'm from Harlem.
Yes, sir.
Till this day, when the Nation of Islam had their restaurants and their fish spots,
yes,
it was the best whiting
sir.
I have ever eaten in my entire life, bro.
Dear brother,
amazing.
It came straight from the docks to your plate.
Shit, man. I missed that.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you is literally where that came from. It went from the docks to your plate. It went from the docks to members in the nation's front door, which means they were getting it at the price. They were getting retail price for what restaurants were paying.
King Simon said, I used to cook it in the NOI.
Yes, sir. King Simon, shout out to King Simon. He remembers whiting H&G and he remembers Steak and Take.
I remember Steak and Take. That was the name of the store. Yeah, Steak and Take. You know, they got one, they got a food truck.
Yes.
That's still operating in Newark. It tastes good. Not as good as back in the day, but they got a food truck, Steak and Take. Shout out to y'all in Newark, New Jersey to this day.
See, brother, and you don't need like crazy, wild diplomatic relations and all this other stuff. So like when we talk about in the Moorish side symbol of America, nationality, see, now we're looking at the benefit of it. What is nationality? It's another way to identify based on what? Your national origin. What we say when we say we're Moorish Americans, we're recognizing, yes, we have ties to America. Of course we do. Not just ties as citizens, but ties as in there was an African diaspora in America before Columbus. Before Columbus. All right. That's another topic. But we also recognize a connection to the continent of Africa. What does that afford us, brother? We're American citizens, but we have access to what? Goods, services, resources from the continent. What does a nation on the African continent have through us? Access to the American market. You see it now, brother?
Yeah.
So with this slide, look at all what we have on this slide. Things that we have the ability to do based on the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. One, develop global trade relations with friendly nation states as a key influencer in global trade and control of our own trade relationships. That's huge, brother. Let me just explain it. Our spending power, you all know since 2016, we spend $1 trillion a year, our people in America. $1 trillion. Since 2016, we broke the $1 trillion mark for annual spending. Our spending power fuels entire industries. We fuel entire industries coming out of India, hair supply. I'm sorry, Korea, hair supplies. See? China, India. We fuel entire industries with our spending, yet we don't control our own trade relationships as major players. We are passive consumers with corporate middlemen negotiating on our behalf, but not in our interest. That was one of the biggest things that China did when it blew up the whole thing on European fashion markets. Remember?
Yeah.
Blew them up. Said, yeah, the stuff that y'all are calling knockoffs, that's what they're buying and putting their logos on them. Yeah. And marking it up 400, 500%. Played them. See what I'm saying? Then turned around and said, yeah, y'all can get it at the same price they get it at. See? We need to end. See, here's our problem, Brother Rich. We still think like we're colonized. See? We need to end our collective colonized thinking and start thinking like a nation. Our spending drives massive imports from China and India and Korea. We are, in fact, a diaspora nation fully functioning within American society with the potential to function as economic or political entities with other nations and, listen, we're bugging out. We're not thinking right collectively. The other things we can do: seriously construct non-nation member status with BRICS, leverage commoditized American. Watch this. I've mentioned this before on another show, Brother Rich. Citizenship is considered sacred because you can't put a price on it because it's based on allegiance. You can't put a price on your life's blood and allegiance. But what did Trump do? He created the gold card, the gold citizenship card, $5 million. He put sacrilegious, blasphemy. But he put a dollar amount on it. Now, mind you, this won't happen. But if we started the conversation publicly, it would demonstrate that we are no longer colonized in our thinking. Here it is. Oh, so President Trump, you say that citizenship is worth $5 million? Well, I got 50 of us. I got 50 of us that are willing to that want to leverage the value of our citizenship. What's 50 times 5 million? See that? Now, is that going to happen? Of course not. But it demonstrates our intelligence, people. It demonstrates that we're intelligent and that we're not colonized mentally. See, another word for mental colonization is mental slavery. See that? Other things we could do: seek official recognition from other nations like the Kingdom of Morocco, to be seen as a colonized extension of Moroccans in America, or non-resident Moroccans, non-resident Africans. How about that? establish a Moorish American trade delegation and an economic council, demand equity. Here's the big one. Demand equity in the very companies and countries whose products we buy and industries we sustain. See? And we need to leverage, collectively leverage where we are strong in the world. You know where we're strong? Entertainment, sports, fashion, hair and beauty, and cultural influence. Cultural influence, we're a superpower, people. You got brothers and sisters in Japan that are spending thousands of dollars to get dreads. You got brothers and sisters in South Africa blooding and cripping. We are a cultural superpower. We don't leverage it to our advantage. But thinking like a nation within a nation, thinking like that, learning to think this way, see, brings all of these things. And I'm bringing this stuff up. Why? Because this potential is exactly why it is profitable for the status quo to make us look absolutely crazy to our brothers and sisters abroad. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. You know, just to add on,
Yes.
Sharif, to what 50 Cent, the show BMF and the portrayal. I don't want to say betrayal, the portrayal of the Moors. It's important just considering what recently happened with BT, and they just took off. They officially suspended indefinitely the BET Awards, Hip Hop Awards, and the Soul Train Awards. So a lot of people are happy there. A lot of people like, shit, good. That shit been horrible for over 2 decades now. Right. And I just want to point out that as soon as Bob Johnson, who was the original owner of BT, as soon as he sold it to Viacom, which is now Paramount, right, the first thing, what's the first thing? Because you talked about them having a certain portrayal of us. You know what's the first thing they did?
What's that?
Take away the news program. I think, what was his name? Was it Tavis Smiley?
Mm-hmm.
I think Tavis Smiley had a show, and it might have been another show. The first thing they did was take away those shows. BT had Teen Summit. They had all types of programming. The gospel show, I forgot what it was called, on Sunday, but they had a lot of good original programming in the 90s and late 80s. But once they sold it, that shit was just 100% ratchet. 100% ratchet.
Brother, so, exactly. You see, brother, listen, brother, our own certain aspects of our own culture have been weaponized. And this is no breaking news. Mm-hmm. Certain aspects of our culture have literally been weaponized against us. I'm just making the point that it is very pointed, it is very purposeful, it is very direct, and at this point it's almost overt. Yeah. This is the definition of silent weapons in a quiet war. Or you being attacked, but you're not, I'm saying you or we collectively, we're not cognizant of the means by which we're being attacked. Therefore, we have a difficult time putting our finger on the button. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bro, anybody can just do a perusal of certain major hip hop celebrities, especially our sisters. Mm-hmm. Sexy Red, Glorilla. Just look at it, right? And look at their handlers / managers.
Shit.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Every single one of them have direct ties to APOC, the IDF, or Mossad.
Wow.
It's really that serious.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Because listen, again, the status quo sees what's happening. They see the trend. They see the end. That's why they're talking this thing about replacement theory. Well, we've been talking about that for over 30 some odd years, about how European population is going down. They're getting older and smaller. Yeah. And despite all the crazy stuff they do to us and what's being done to us, we're growing larger and younger. We are looking at the browning of America. This has been talked about for decades. But now what you have is you got Europeans screaming it like, yo, you see? Now, one of the things, whether people agree or not, we do not subscribe to identifying by a color. We're not going to argue that. You can agree, you can disagree, but now watch this. We're seeing a super rise in white supremacist organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And they are yelling very loud, we have to protect and preserve white identity. You hear them, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What better weapon? Listen close. What better weapon than to challenge whiteness itself? What better weapon than to say, you know what? You all were invented in 1621.
Mm. And
that's hard history and hard science. That's not speculation. Whiteness was invented in 1621. And later on, we just gradually learned to accept it. See? What better weapon? You ain't got to agree or disagree. You ain't got to agree with us. But I don't think you could find a better argument. I don't think you can find a better argument against white supremacy. See? We've grown again. We've grown to believe that Americanism is synonymous with Eurocentrism. Right? We have. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, say it.
No, I was gonna say, what role, and I've heard about this before. I know some of the people in the audience may not have. You know, we always people talk about America being a great Christian nation, a great Christian nation.
Yeah.
Give me an example of some of the roles Islam played in the foundation of this country.
A number of huge roles, right? Matter of fact, I give you the biggest one.
The biggest one, right? Come on.
The biggest one.
Come on.
Right? The first thing a budding nation in the family of nations, the most important thing that they must have or that must occur with them to be recognized in the family of nations, in an international community as a nation, is guess what?
What?
Recognition by another nation as a nation.
Yes.
You know who did that for the United States?
Who?
The Kingdom of Morocco.
Okay. I knew he was going there.
1786.
Right.
Yep. It was the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. That's what did it.
What does it have to do with Islam? American being an Islamic founded on Islam or having Islamic foundations.
It was that's an Islamic political entity. You know, the Moroccan Empire is Islamic. Now let's take it a step further. In the 1790s, I believe it was 1790 or 1791, Thomas Barclay, in being the representative for the United States to Tripoli, which was another North African power, the Treaty of Tripoli. In that treaty, Thomas Barclay straight up and down says, since the United States is in no way founded on the Christian religion, there should be no issues between us in this treaty because we have nothing against the Islamic religion. Here's the fact. Yes, we hear all the time, yes, the United States is a Christian nation, but that's the propaganda from the Christian identity people, the white supremacists. Propaganda. It's not true. The United States is not a religious nation. That's why you have freedom of religion guaranteed. See? Yeah. We're not a Christian nation, but the hijackers of their true American ideal want to turn this country into a Christian nation. What you are seeing right now is a full court press of Project 2025. And if you know anything about who wrote Project 2025, you'll be like, oh my goodness, they're all dominionist, doctrinist, Christian identity people. And their objective is to turn America, because they know America's already been reduced from a unipolar world power to a regional power. They know it. And what we're watching right now with our current president is a fire sale. We're literally watching the dismantling and gutting of American infrastructure and then selling it off to the highest bidder. It's called privatization. We're watching it happen. So they're like, well, if we're gonna be reduced to a regional power, it's gonna be our regional power. So the people backing Trump, because it ain't Trump. Matter of fact, if you're paying attention, you realize they squeezed as much orange juice out of him as they could. Now they're trying to get rid of him. That's what we're watching right now. That's why the Epstein thing won't go away.
Right.
They're going to get him up out of here. They're getting him up out of here. That's what we're watching. See what I'm saying? Now, go ahead. What are you going to say?
Oh, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, they're getting him up out of here. But anyway, the people that are backing him, the people that backed him, right, so they could get what they want done, these are people want, right, a technocratic state, and they want a Euro-Christian fascist state. That's it. That's it. Where does that leave us? See what I'm saying? Now that on that side of things look a little precarious. But in the greater scheme of things, the rest, like I said, the rest of the planet is moving past Euro dominance. Euro dominance is dying a death in a quick one. Mm-hmm. A quick one. Our earthly salvation, our survival, and ability to thrive to the next stage of things depends on our ability to connect with our old world connections, our brothers and sisters in the global south. That is the power of nationality. And we're not saying we're the only game in town. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that this is part of the great program. See? It's part of the great program. Bottom line is, we believe not only we in the fight, but we're in the right fight. Mm-hmm. And the right fight is what does America look like moving forward? Mm-hmm. That's the fight. The fight is, what does America look like moving forward? See what I'm saying?
Sharif, when it comes to the Moors, one of the things that I guess kind of turns people off about the Moors, and I'm bringing this up because there was a scene in BMF where a black man was getting ready to go into his house, and the Moors popped out, and they was like, he was like, "What are you doing on my property?" And the Moors was like, "This is ancestral land."
Remember what I was telling? I said earlier in the presentation, I mentioned illegal adverse possession.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Thank you. You brought me right back to it. That's what that is.
That's what that is. Right.
That has nothing to do with the Moorish American movement. That is a misunderstanding, and then people moving out on the misunderstanding. You see, that's people. Okay, follow me. Go ahead.
No, that a lot of them do that. The squatting. A lot of them do that all over social media. I've seen it for years, brother. For years.
No, I agree. And that and again, that's another thing. The Moorish movement has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Nothing. See, here's true adverse possession. There is such thing as adverse possession. Mm-hmm. But here's true adverse possession. Watch. You got an abandoned house on your block. Mm-hmm. It's been abandoned for like 10 years. What does that tell you about the actual owner? Okay. You file a quitclaim deed, and you put money into the property to fix it up and raise the property value. Mm-hmm. Either A, now mind you, there's most likely back taxes on it, right? Mm-hmm. So either A, when you put your claim in, it's called an adverse claim. Either the original owner is going to come and no, and he's going to contest it, or he's going to be like, you know what, cool, he took that off my hands, I'm out of here. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's called adverse possession. What these people are doing is going way too far. Mm. They're going into Brother Rich's house, not the abandoned house across the street. Mm. They're going into Brother Rich's $1 million property, if he had $1 million property, and saying, "Oh, this is mine now because it's on my land." And I'm the. You see what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
It's criminal. It's not just physical or not just legally criminal. It's socially criminal. It's socially criminal. And yeah, there were people calling themselves Moorish Americans doing that foolery. It's nonsense.
What do you think, Sharif? What do you think about the idea of, let's say we have the philosophy of being a nation within a nation.
Yes, sir.
And brothers and sisters want to start buying land and building communities and farming.
Why not?
Let me bring this up. And you know what? Let me Google this so we could. So let me hold up.
Yes, sir.
There's something, Sharif, called eminent domain.
Of course it is.
Where brothers is be like, there ain't no, even if we do that, the government, Google says eminent domain is the power of the government to take private property for public use, even if the owner does not want to sell.
Correct.
This power is granted by the U.S. Constitution, specifically the Fifth Amendment, which also requires the government to provide just compensation to the owner.
That's right.
While often associated with large infrastructure projects, eminent domain can also be used for other public purposes, included economic development and urban renewal. What's stopping them, Sharif? Let's say me and you got 40 acres. We booming. We got the fish coming in from like the Nation of Islam. What's stopping the government from saying, you know what, eminent domain, we need to use this. This land is sacred, or look what they did with Central Park and Seneca Village.
Right.
What's our way around that, brother?
Now, I got to look. I don't believe the whole Seneca Village issue was an eminent domain issue.
Okay.
But I do understand the sentiment. Now, the short answer to the question is there's nothing you can do, right? There's nothing you could do about that, about such a thing. Well, that's the short answer. Here's the longer answer, right? The longer answer is even negative, how can I put it? Okay, let's say the powers that be just listen. They're just on some nonsense, and they're being evil, right? And they want to use the vehicle of eminent domain to take property, right? They still have to have the illusion of the moral high ground. They got to look like they're right. Understand? Now, it's not, first of all, if you got land, let's say we got land, right? This what if that I'm giving you is not really a what if. Let me just say it that way. This what if is not really a what if, but let's call it a what if. Brother Rich and I have, let's say, 100 acres. Brother Rich and I contact Burkina Faso. After doing our due diligence and going, one of the biggest exports in Burkina Faso is textiles. We contact them and say yes, and and some of the biggest buyers of textiles from Burkina Faso, right, are in America or in the West. And Burkina Faso would love a direct link to the American market. In other words, watch this. So all we have to do is, we can not only we provide you direct access to the American market by you building a manufacturing plant on me and Brother Rich's land. You see where this is going?
Right. No, yeah.
We build that plant on our land, brother, and we're talking 100 acres. There are towns that are smaller than 100 acres. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did it, just thinking about the brother Ibrahim Traore, because you mentioned him earlier.
Yes.
And we mentioned the Nation of Islam and what we're talking about, the Moors and all of that stuff.
Yes.
Didn't Gaddafi try to give money to Farrakhan and the U.S. intercepted it and said he couldn't get it?
He did. He gave. I mean, yeah, he gave. They actually got a $1 million interest-free loan from Muammar Gaddafi.
And the U.S. they took it?
No. They got that money.
I heard they. Okay, all right.
No, the nation got that money.
Okay,
that's fact. They got that money.
Okay, wow.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah, this is a very powerful conversation we had tonight, way beyond just a television show.
Yes.
We talking about making power moves. And there's a new world forming. Well, let me ask you this, Sharif. In this new world that's forming, new paradigm, do you ever worry that the organizations that thrived in the old world will not be a part of this new world? So let me give you an example. We got the Moorish Science Temple, we got the Nation of Islam, we got all these organizations, just like we got traditional media.
Absolutely.
Go shutting shit down. All of the companies, the networks, the organizations, it seems like they're not making their way to the new world. How does that impact? How do you feel about the Moorish Science Temple of America moving forward, my brother?
I'm gonna let Prophet Noble Drali answer that question. He said these words in October 17th, 1928, in an interview with the Chicago Defender. Right, this day was the Moorish American Parade. This is what he said. It must be kept in mind that no great movement can take definite shape in 2 or 3 years so as to be error-proof. However, through accumulating experience, each annual convention ought to witness a more perfect and wider functioning organization representing the organized experience of men and women members throughout the country and possibly in time the world over. Constructive criticism from sympathetic friends in and outside of our ranks is welcome. In other words, just like anything else, dear brother, we have a definite direction and objective, but we have to be flexible enough in our approach to be able to course correct where and when needed. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
In other words, we have to be flexible enough to apply the principles of whatever it is we stand for to the current conditions that we're in.
Okay.
Yeah. It means a living movement.
I just who's this dude in the yo, bro? Some dude spamming crazy in the chat.
Oh yeah.
I usually just ban people. I'm just gonna. Oh shit! Hold on. What did I do? Yeah, I just put you in timeout, bro. You can't be spamming like that. I just noticed that. All right, all right. So let me bring this up to you. Let me get your opinion on this.
Sure.
This is a great show to learn a lot today about nationality, land, business, the global community, movements, nations.
Yes, sir.
Well-rounded conversation. I just want to thank you for that.
Absolutely, brother. I want to thank you for the opportunity, to make some of these points clear about what the Moorish movement's about, what it's not about. Despite, there's people and then there's the movement. Everybody's got bad apples. I don't see one Christian. Saying that they're not going to be Christian and they're going to look down on Christianity because of the KKK. Not one.
Very good point.
And the KKK say that they are what?
Christian?
Loyal Christians. See my point?
Yeah.
There you go.
Let me ask you this in terms of land and black people in America. There's been a constant conversation of immigrants and black people in America, and what does the future hold with us in this land? And I noticed something, and I want to get your opinion on it.
Sure.
So I was in New York for about 2 weeks.
Yes.
Now I'm originally from Harlem.
Yes, sir.
The last couple of years I lived in New York. I moved to Brooklyn, but I lived in Harlem originally for a while, 30 years or something like that.
Yes.
And the Africans got Harlem on lock. Oh shit. I remember when I was young, and let me explain. I remember when I was, a little younger.
116th on the west side.
Yeah, 116th was they strip. They had 116th. If you walk from 116th to, let's say, 130th or 135th on 7th or St. Nicholas, Here braiding store, here braiding store, African barbershop, restaurant. Here, yo, they got like 4 hair braiding stores on each block. Yo, that shit is booming. The hair braiding business, I'm talking about booming.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh shit, they doing their thing, and I'm like, I ain't mad at it. Well, you know, they doing what they doing, but I'm like, yo, it's crazy how Black Americans don't look at opportunity of opening up a store like that as lucrative.
You know why it is, brother?
Yeah.
And this first part is going to sound overly obvious. We don't believe in ourselves, but this is why we don't. Just follow me, right? Those Africans don't necessarily call themselves Africans, do they?
No, they got a nation. They go by the
That's how they're unifying.
They got a lot of Senegalese.
That's how they're unifying, brother.
They
like I mentioned earlier, there's different types of identification.
Yeah.
And they have different purposes. So national identity is the primary way people in society come together. That's why you have a little Italy. That's why you have a little Cuba. That's why you have a Koreatown. That's why you see.
Yeah.
That is what we are missing.
Well, let me ask you this. Speaking of Korea, let me ask you this. A great conversation, and y'all got to see it. I thought I was bugging out. Then I heard my lady say it without me saying something to her. I was like, oh shit! I thought I was just bugging out, and she like, nah, yo, it's everywhere. I'm like, wow. But yeah, they doing their thing. The Senegalese in Harlem is doing their thing. But let me ask you this: why do you think, Sharif, when you mention North Korea, why do you think they have better relationships with the Koreans than the Black Americans? Like, you'll see them work in the stores, you'll see them work side by side with each other, and you really don't see, once in a while you'll see that with a Black American, but you'll see the Asians, like even Akon. Example be with Akon, his business relationships with China, they seem to work with the Africans, but we don't have those type of relationships. Why do you think that is, my brother?
Because of the social stigma put on us by color code race classification, flat out. Flat out. That stigma that's placed on us because of color code race classification brands us as social and economic property of the people who labeled us. Even when we try to redefine the label. You understand? Even when we try, it's so bad that what you did, that sentiment, it even carries over into the underworld, brother.
What do you mean?
Man.
Oh no, I get what you. Okay. I get what you say now. Yeah.
It even carries over into the underworld where you got straight criminals from other nations that won't do business with us.
Right. I get what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because of the principles and stigmas attached to the label. You hear me? Yeah, man. And I'm not talking respectability politics, but listen, in the 60s, I know this for a fact because there's certain, quote unquote Black preachers that told me. They were saying that how they were able to travel safely. You know what the Green Book is, right?
No, what's that?
Oh, you don't know what the Green Book is?
What's that?
Man, back in the 50s and the 60s, remember there's a movie made about it. Anyway, there was this little book, like a travel guide made for our people driving from one state to another to show what towns were safe, what weren't, what businesses were safe, what weren't, because of all the sundown towns and all this other stuff. Yeah, it's called the Green Book, bro.
Wow. I had no idea.
Wow. Yes. Yeah, it's called the Green Book. But anyway, man, how'd I get on this point? Man, I just lost my train of thought on that. But what was the question you had asked me initially?
I had asked about the relationship with Asians.
Yes. We've grown accustomed to the stigmatization. You understand? So we try to make regular human relations with the stigmatization, and we keep running into brick wall after brick wall after brick wall. Oh, that's what I was saying. These Asiatic preachers in the 60s used to travel I'm talking to Jim Crow era.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they were able to do it safely? This guy told me. He said, we used to dress up in turbans and act like we were speaking a foreign language.
Whoo, shit.
You hear what I'm telling you?
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even about, wow.
Yes.
They could slide with their color as long as they didn't act like they were Black Americans.
As soon as it was presumed or known that they were not quote unquote Black Americans, they were sitting in they were invited and told to sit in the all white sections.
Yeah, I've heard of that before. Yes, yes. So now that's crazy because we think it's a color of your skin thing.
Nah.
That's crazy.
Nah. See?
That's crazy.
Yo, bro, we could, and I think I've mentioned him on a show of yours with you before. What's our brother's name out of Philly? It'll come to me.
What,
but
a Moorish brother?
This brother, he's Egyptian. He's a professor. He's Egyptian. He moved from Egypt to the United States. He immigrated to the United States from Egypt. But because of the bad sociology that created the color code system, and then legislation and American policy based on that bad sociology, which is the Office of Management and Budget's Federal Directive number 15. That sets racial standards and qualifications in America, right? For statistic gathering. That says white people are anybody from Europe, North Africa, or the Middle East. So that means Sudanese immigrating here who are darker than my shirt are classified as white. And that's the truth. This brother, I'm drawing a blank on his name. It'll come to me. He immigrates to the United States. He looks like me with an afro, short afro, right? But he's nationally Egyptian, ethnically Arab, brother. He comes here, they say you're white. He goes, yeah, okay, whatever, when in Rome. But after a year or so, he's realizing, wait a minute, the people I associate with are called Black. So he petitioned the government to change his racial classification. Well, that's when all hell broke loose.
Yo.
They were like, first of all, no. Secondly, you better not bring this up again. You might lose your job and a whole bunch of other stuff. You hear me?
But you see, Sharif, this makes me think now. You know how you said whiteness is an invention?
Yes.
Maybe this is how they keep their numbers up. How they act like they are more of a population than who they really are, because they keep inviting more and more people into whiteness.
Bro, it's just like the bad lie that you have to keep having to change.
You gotta keep
So no, let's talk about it.
First the Italians ain't white. First the Irish. Then they're like, okay, we need numbers now. Yes. Our population is dwindling. Come on, let's invite them. All right, now you Hispanic. Okay, you could be white too.
Those are that's the new emerging whiteness.
Yeah.
Is the so-called, the quote-unquote Latino population.
Damn,
but MAGA smacked them real hard, didn't they?
Oh my God, MAGA don't play. Yo, man, you gotta love, not love, but when the real white racist comes around, you just gotta look and be like, oh man, it's entertaining, bro. Yo, listen, I was watching an interview with Nick Fuentes.
Yeah.
And he's like a white Hispanic or something. Yes. And Candace Owens.
Yes.
And I guess she thought that, she's one of them. She talks about Black people all the time and whatever. Yo, he let her know so fast.
Yeah.
That she was part of the low IQ people on planet Earth. She ain't what to do. Yo, she been a real racist. Like, she thought, like, whatever the shit she talk is lightweight compared to this dude, yo.
It's so bad that Candace starting to sound like us now, ain't she?
Yo, bro. Because, they don't need the Black puppets the way they used to.
No.
Because they could come more out in the open now. So they don't have to hide. Before they had to hide behind a Candace Owens or whatever. Now they're like, yo, we don't need them like that no more. Bro, we could just come out.
Now they're openly saying, quote unquote, racism, white supremacy is Americanism.
Hey, man.
Because that's their wet dream. That's their wish. But that's also a very desperate wish. It's desperate.
Yeah.
It's desperate. Shout out to Lord Albert, Naeem Way. I see him.
All right.
He said Nick Fuentes is an intellectual lightweight.
I agree.
Agreed 100%. But guess what? Here's the thing. When you got tons of power, tons of money, and tons of influence behind you, see what I'm saying? Trump is an intellectual lightweight. Let's be real.
Yeah, hands down. Yeah.
Let's be real. So what? He got millions of dollars. Yeah. I mean, that's not difficult. It's not a puzzle when your father gives you 480 million. It's not a puzzle when other oligarchs bail you out and get a number of banks to bankroll you when nobody will give you a loan. Shout out to Deutsche Bank in Russia. Come on, people. You know, come on. You know, he's an intellectual lightweight, but what does he got behind him? He's got major oligarchs behind him. See what I'm saying? He surely does.
Let's get to a couple of questions from the.
Let's do it
before we get out of here.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Like I said, a great conversation.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for always clearing up the misconception on the Moors, because the shit people be seeing on the internet, people be like, yo, oh man, it just be crazy sometimes. So
bro.
Represent
crazy.
But Leah, let's put my brother on the full screen, and let's get to give me some good questions from the family, from the audience. Give me some good questions so I can ask the brother Sharif Bey. Let me see. This is a question from earlier.
Go ahead.
How can the Moorish community restore trust with the people? Is there a plan in motion?
All right. Well, okay. That's a good question, right? So a big part of the quote unquote mistrust with our people in general and the Moorish movement in particular is just a lack of proper information about what the Moorish movement stands for. So watch this. See, because what we end up doing, brother, we end up othering ourselves and doing micro othering within our community. Like you got racism and then you got colorism inside of our community. Get it? Right? Well, we don't like dark skin or we don't like light skin. You see what I'm saying? So we have that happening as well along when it comes to the Moorish movement. We'll say, oh yeah, there's black people and then there's Moors. Huh? You see what I'm saying? Watch. This is a piece of history, people, and I challenge all of you. I challenge you to prove it wrong. Go find out for yourself, but really look. Here we go. And I've said this before on your show before, Brother Rich. The origin of the African transatlantic slave trade happened in the year 1442 with a number of raids that were made on the West African coast by a Portuguese military order under the authorization of the Pope Eugene IV. When they reported some of the captives that they took off the west coast of Africa, Pope Eugene IV was elated, and he drafted a papal bull, an order, a decree called Ilias Quae Pro Divini. And that order began the African transatlantic slave trade. And guess what Pope Eugene called it? He said it's a continuing crusade against the Moors. What does that mean? It means that at least, it's not just this time period, but at that time period, the term Moor was synonymous with African inhabitants. So when we say Moors, we're talking about all of us, whether you identify that way or not. So it's not Africans and then Moors, because now we sound like Europeans saying, well, there's Africa and then there's Egypt. See? So to answer that question again, right? First of all, the restoration or the establishment of the trust will come with more dialogue. But dialogue with responsible individuals. You see what I'm saying? Dialogue with responsible individuals. The Moorish movement is not designed to other ourselves from the rest of our people. And Brother Rich, now see, I just spoke to the big pink elephant in the room. A part of the distrust comes from members of our organization and our movement othering or distancing ourselves from our own people.
All right, let's get to this next question. For a Moor, is it conflicting knowing that Africans inhabited this land before Columbus with culture and rules while also honoring the American way?
Absolutely not. See, again, remember, narrative is key. It's not just what we know, it's how we think about what we know. So what's presumed anytime we start talking about African diaspora in the West? The African transatlantic slave trade. Why? Because we were socialized in believing that's how it happened. And that's not true. Shout out to Professor Clyde Winters, who wrote a very, very powerful paper that you can Google right now. And it's entitled Inference of I'm paraphrasing. Basically, the paper is about showing the genetic markers, African phenotypical genetic markers in the ancient Mexican population, pre-Columbian era. And he in his paper says, most likely it was a result of the Malian expedition, right? With Abu Bakr II. So here's my question. It's a rhetorical question. If you got in the 1300s, right, according to the Mali records, 2 expeditions, one with 100 ships, the second with over 1,000, right? By Mansa Musa's brother. And that was in the 1300s. And then 200 years later, there's Africans coming from Spain on vacation, according to Dr. Ben, in the Caribbean. And they encounter the descendants of the Malians. Would you call them Africans or would you call them native? In other words, this thing is way more nuanced than we've been trained to think. There's more moving parts, people. We have to step up our thinking game. It's not overly simplistic. The answer to that question is the obvious. The answer is yes to both. They're both Native Americans and African descendant. They're both. See? We're so, again, narrative. We have so much of the European psychology on us, we tend to think either or as opposed to both and. You see that? Our forefathers think more both and instead of either or.
All right, let me get to this next question.
Sure.
Could we develop our own U.S. money system, digital and physical, based on the industrial market value of our melanin and our global influence on other cultures?
Here's a direct answer. That's a great question.
Very good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. But here's the thing. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. BRICS has already done it for us. All we got to do is get on board. See? BRICS has already done it for us. All we got to do is just get on board. BRICS has already done it. And we are, the BRICS nations are the global South nations. And once again, we are the representatives of the global South nations in America, in the market that everybody wants, but nobody wants to do business with the status quo. The only people they'll be willing to do business with is us, but only if our minds are decolonized. See? Because if our minds are not decolonized, they're going to be like you, just like dealing with those Europeans. You just got darker skin. See?
Next question. Are there any Moors in politics?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just recently, on Let's Think Podcast, shout out to Let's Think Podcast, my brother Sheikh 7 Islamil. We had my good brother and colleague and comrade, Khalid Bey. Khalid Bey was an operative. In other words, he worked in the state government level for a number of years in New York, and then served as a counselor for the city of Syracuse for 10 years. And wrote more legislation than anybody in that office in the past 40 years. See, one of the things that plague us, again, remember the purpose of the political machine and the government machine is to service the people. And our purpose as citizens in the American system is to utilize the political machine to reshape the social landscape to our benefit. That's what it's used for. That's why in the American system of government, the people have the power. We just don't use it. Now, that said, our brother Khalid Bey, among other things. So one of the things in New York is crazy, right? We have issues. St. Louis has these issues. St. Louis has these issues heavy, right? Where you have a municipality that preys on our community for money, broken window policing, this type of stuff, right? So, and then you've got issues, civil issues that have criminal penalties, like child support arrears, right? The only way you escaping that is if you're married. If you're not married, and you and your children or child and their mother need assistance, oh, it's war. It's war declared on you. It's war declared on you, right? Get your check garnished, lien on your bank account, all that stuff, right? Watch this. Legislation was passed at the state level to where the state can no longer revoke your driver's license if you have child support arrears. You know who was responsible for that legislation? Our brother Khalid Bey.
Excellent.
I mean, he's done other things too, but that's just one example, you see. And he chaired economic development for the entire city for those 10 years. Not a shovel went in the ground without his approval.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to another question.
Yes. Shout out Abundance Child. I see you.
Yeah. You know, Abundance Child, I want to get you back on the show to talk about some spirituality. I'm gonna text you or hit you up probably next week. All right, let's get to I seen a question I want to ask you. Oh well, this question I get maybe this question is a little sarcastic. Sharif, do you know anyone who got their birth certificate trust millions asking for
Absolutely not.
Oh, that's a bit. Oh man, I hear about that one every year. Every year, a new person talks about how we could get millions from my birth certificate. Oh man,
listen.
Oh
we used
man,
to listen back in the day. We believed in that too, but we followed it all the way to its logical end.
What's the logical end, my brother?
Here we go, brother. It's the difference between a stock and a bond. So that you'll hear people say, "Oh, your birth certificate is a bond, and a bond is a promise to pay," and da da da. That means if that's true, it's debt. And guess what? You can't turn a debt instrument into liquid cash. There's rules governing that. It's called right Security Exchange Commission, SEC.
Mm-hmm.
You go to jail for that. Simple. Simple, people. Simple. You go to jail for that.
Yeah, there was this lady. My sister knew this lady who was some of the Moors was talking to, whoever they were, representatives or rogue Moors, I don't know.
Yes.
But they was about to get her for about 10 racks. And they kept telling her that they're gonna help her make millions from a birth certificate. So my sister was like, well, let me ask my brother, because he's into stuff like that. So she called me. I said, oh, tell her hell no, don't go for that shit. Brother. I said, tell her hell no.
Don't do that.
They're gonna take all her, man. They be damn.
Yo, watch this. Watch this. My uncle told me this a long time ago. The success of the con man depends on the greed of the mark.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
No, yeah.
So we're talking about a divine and national movement put together where the Prophet Noble Drew Ali literally risked his life just so you could make a couple extra bucks and escape some debt. You gotta stop, people. You know what I'm saying? So anybody approaching you about the Moorish movement and they're talking about, well, if you do this, you're not going to have to pay that. That's a con man. whether they realize it or not. Maybe they don't even realize it.
Right.
But that's a con. It is.
Sharif, let me ask you, our ability, because you talk about the human mind, and this is where there's a bigger issue at hand with what we got going on.
Yes.
And I say this in my private conversations, and I heard other people's talk about this.
Yes.
Our ability to lie to ourselves
is
absolutely amazing.
You, brother.
And believe the lie. Once you lie to yourself, you're gonna lie to everybody, and you don't even know you're lying at that point. You done trick yourself into thinking the lie is real.
That's an aspect of what we call inconstancy. In other words, you have no ground under your feet. You can't even trust yourself. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Now that being said, follow me. And I'm glad you said that, right? About how we think. Bro, let's go back to how we fell 500 plus years ago in Spain. Let's go back there. We didn't fall because the Europeans just ran all over us. We fell because we stopped treating each other like brothers and sisters and treating each other right. This is history, people. All you got to do is look up this word taifa, T-A-I-F-A. You know what the taifas were? Taifas were the individual kingdoms that became the fractions of the Moroccan Empire in Spain, in Europe. So we broke up amongst ourselves. We stopped treating each other like brothers and sisters. We began at an accelerated rate trying to get over on each other. And as we did that, Europeans came together. It's called the Reconquista in history. Look it up. They came together. And the culmination of them coming together to put a collective foot in our backside was the marriage of Ferdinand and Isabella. That's what
you say.
You know
that
what they called it? They called it the second coming of Christ.
Coming to Christ. I heard you say that.
Sure did, brother. You see what I'm saying? So as we were breaking up, they were coming together. That's what happened.
Why was that marriage called the second coming of Christ? What was it?
Because remember, Christianity from that perspective, it's not what we think it is or what we were told it is. Christianity was formed, the foundation of it was formed in Rome.
Right.
Not in the Middle East, not in Jerusalem, in Rome. And it was formulated for what? For the economic and social progress of Europeans only. That's why. That's it. That's it. You see? That's why it was formulated. So, so if I work a machine that you created for your benefit, if I'm working the machine, who gets the benefit? You. Even if I'm working it, you get the benefit, which means I hurt myself. You see what I'm saying? So our thinking has to change. And so what you have, dear brother, with people that are playing the con game is people that want to look the part, but still act like the N-word.
Right.
We don't want to change how we think. You know how that goes, brothers. You know, if you old school, hard head makes you already know.
Soft ass, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're facing.
man.
That's what we're facing. You hear me? That's what we're facing. If we're going to be, listen, we are going to be forced to change our minds. It's far better to get ready before you're made to do so. We're going to be forced to change our minds. I don't want to be forced, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because that means things as bad as things are, they're not bad enough yet. And that's crazy.
Indeed. We're going to do one more question. Then
Yes,
we're going to get out of here. We're about to hit the 2-hour mark, man. We just having a good conversation tonight, y'all. Real good conversation.
Yes. Somebody said ask about civics.
Yes, I see somebody say, okay, why don't Temple Moors teach about civics? So,
well, first of all, let's define civics. Because first of all, the temple does. I'm the Grand Sheikh of Subordinate Temple number 10. We teach civics all the time. But let's define civics. See, a lot of people think civics is the law. It's not law. It's not. A lot of people that talk about, oh, the temple don't teach civics, they never looked up the definition of civics. See, I explained civics earlier. Here it is. I'm going to give you the definition. The definition of civics is that part of political science. In other words, it's not the law, it's political science. That part of political science that deals with the rights, duties, and responsibilities of citizens. That's what civics is. It means, in a simple way, how the average rank and file American citizen accesses his or her government. Why? Because in truth and in principle, the government is the people's employee. We've been playing the game backwards. See? So we do teach about civics, but we teach about civics, bro. Nationality is not a legal term. It's a term of sociology. Despite the fact you could find the word nationality in a legal dictionary. So what? It's a sociology term. Politics trumps the law, and sociology trumps politics. And that's that. Mm-hmm. See?
Hey, Sharif.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Do you in your Moorish Science Temple? You know, me and you kick it a lot about spirituality. Do you teach the members in your temple about things like quantum physics and things like that? So,
bro, did you see the show I did? Shout out to Billy Carson, Forbidden Knowledge, and give me the opportunity to speak. Right? Did you see the show I did with Billy?
Yeah.
Bro, see, okay, watch me. Islamic thinking is not dogmatic. Islamic wrote this or wrote that. No, it's dynamic. Islamic thinking, the word Islam implies oneness and wholeness. That's what it implies. Oneness, right? Mm. That said, if me and Brother Rich, out of 10 things, we disagree on 9 of them, Islamic thinking means we can shake hands and work together on the one thing we agree on. See that?
Right.
That's Islamic thinking. So in Islamic thinking, there's no separation between religion and science. Mm. If there's a difference or a distinction, that means one or both are wrong. Truth is truth, right?
Right.
So what's happening with quantum mechanics and the daily discoveries in quantum mechanics, guess what they're doing? They're confirming and affirming ancient spiritual truths.
Right.
All we have to do is be wide-eyed enough to recognize the difference in language.
Right.
That's all. When quantum mechanics says that consciousness is sourced from higher dimensions in a place where there's no distinction between time and space, if we can accept that, and I say man is not the body of the soul, man's spirit and part of Allah, it's the same thing. See? It's the same thing.
Amazing.
We just have to be sharp enough to recognize it. And not throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, oh, well, that's religious dogma.
Hey, Sharif, with that being said, leave your info for the family so they could get in touch with you, my brother.
Absolutely, brother. I'm on Facebook, Sharif Untitled Bey. You can find me on Instagram, Sharif Bey, also Sifu Sharif on TikTok. I'm accessible. I'm outside.
Indeed. Hey man, I want to thank you once again, man. I had a great conversation, brother.
Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah,
yo, listen. We're still, people are still buzzing off that trip to the mountain.
Oh yeah, man. That ain't going away no time soon. Yeah.
Yeesh, bro.
Man, that was life-changing, historic. I mean, it's hard to, wow. That was amazing. This is the first interview I did with you since then.
That's fact.
Oh, okay. Damn, I didn't even know that. Yeah, Sharif was there representing, man. I want to thank you for coming out, brother.
Yeah, that was beautiful, bro. It was beautiful. Yeah. And it was paradigm shifting. It was like,
I think about it, and it's something that it's one thing to read a book or watch a video, but experiences live with you a different way, and
it's real.
Yeah, I just encourage the family when we have these events for y'all to come out and to get these experiences. Is different. It's different.
Experience is initiation. You you're forever changed. You ain't the same.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not the same. You got to experience it. That's why even in bodies of initiation, like secret orders and secret organizations, you're not told what's going to happen.
Right.
They put you through it first, and then they explain it later.
Right.
So because the experience places an indelible mark on your soul. You hear what I just said?
Yeah.
It puts a tattoo on your soul that can be recognized in future incarnations, brother. That's another show. Yeah.
It is another. That's powerful. That is powerful right there.
Real. That's real.
You know what? I want to ask you, since I got you here today, and I know you deal with, organizations and things like that. I always remember, I may have been about 21 years old. I'm outside with Sarnetta.
Yes.
And the Masons come out, and the brothers is dressed like women, like Medea. They dressed like Medea.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They was just standing there, and they in a line, and they all dressed up like women. And the Mason dude was walking back and forth, and he had them chanting things. And I'm like, at this, I still don't know. Like, is there like a reason? Because at that time, I'm just like, yo, this is ignorant. These are
hate, bro. It's hazing, and most likely that was not a Masonic organization, but you have to be a Freemason to be a member, and that was the Shrine, where they make a mockery of Islam, a mockery of our forefathers' legacy. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and that's most likely that was a line, of people being initiated into the Shrine.
See, somebody remember, they said, I recall that footage. Yes, I had the footage.
Yeah.
I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, is there like some super deep esoteric reason? You know what I'm saying?
They call the Shrine the playground of Freemasonry.
Oh, okay.
Now, there's some serious aspects to the Shrine, yes.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just like, the image that you see on some people, especially in England, on some people's front lawns. You see a monkey with a little fez on and a vest with a bell or symbols, right? And he's called the Moor.
Wow.
That's them making mockery of the secret history.
Yeah.
Damn,
wow. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. King Simon got some of Sharif's links.
Oh, appreciate it. Shout out to King Simon.
Yeah, shout out to King Simon in the chat. Shout out to everybody else in the chat. And I will be back tomorrow for a special show for the 88 Lionsgate. So make sure y'all tune in tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Going to have an amazing show. All right, family? Sharif, thank you, my brother. I'm going to talk to you soon, brother.
Absolutely, brother, man. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Peace.